the people around me to be happy. But I myself, I was really not a happy person because I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with all kinds of issues in my personal life. So whenever my husband would do things that are natural, I would react from the spectrum, from the lens of a very, very hurt person. You understand? All those issues that you've not dealt with in your personal life, when you get married, your marriage becomes a war zone. Because even if you didn't respond to certain things, when you get married, it puts pressure. Marriage is such a training ground for character. It puts pressure on you. You understand? It's like a rubber band that was already weak. If you keep pulling it, pulling it, pulling it, it's going to pop. So the first rule to a happy marriage is you being happy. And you have to take inventory of your own personal life. You have to know the issues in your personal life. Do you have a hot temper? Why do you have a hot temper? Was your father abusive? Was your mother abusive? Did you grow up in a negligent situation? Did you grow up in a dysfunctional home? Was your father completely absent? Was your mother emotionally detached? All of these things affect you personally. You have to be honest with yourself about the things that are standing in your own way. Because if they stand in your own way, then definitely they will stand in your marriage. Take cognizance of the things that people say about you. Not everything may be true, but if they say that you have a hot temper, and if 10 million people have said that you have a hot temper, you've lost your job because you have a hot temper, you've been kicked out of meetings because you have a hot temper. I mean, if you see a trend going on in your life, that means that it is an impediment to you. And anything that is an impediment to you is an impediment to your marriage. Do you get me? Having a happy marriage has to do with you being happy. And the only way that you can be happy is to be completely void and rid of inhibitions, things that are standing in your way. Do you talk too much? Do you yell when you do talk? Are you somebody who does not know how to communicate? Or when you communicate, you are talking too fast or you are talking too slow? Are you someone who doesn't look at the eye of a person when they are talking to you? Are you somebody who lies? If you have personal issues in your own life, personal mountains, it will become a mountain in your marriage. So the first rule of thumb is to be somebody who is happy. Be happy by taking care of the issues in your own life. Your dad was not there. Your mother was not there. Armed robbers stole all your things when you were younger. Your uncle raped you. Blah, blah, blah. We understand. Trust me, I get it. I understand it. And I do empathize. However, when you become an adult, we can't use those excuses anymore. And please pardon me. I don't mean to say that those things are excuses because they really did happen, right? However, you have to come to a place in your life where you take responsibility for what happens from here on out. Because from age 1 to age 8, or from age 1 to age 15, or age 1 to 19, whenever you left your parents' house, you really didn't have so much control of the things that were happening in your life. But believe it or not, all of those things that happened, they infiltrated into your life. They infiltrated into your tissues. They infiltrated into your psyche. They infiltrated into your personality. They infiltrated in how you do things and why you do the things that you do. Now that you have left that house, now that you're living by yourself, now that you have decided to get married, now that you have children, now that you have a job, now that you have responsibilities, now that you are a leader, now that you have an organization, now that you are a doctor, now that you are a business owner, now that you have something in your hand and you have been placed in a place of authority, that means you must alter some things. You must. You must alter some things. You must alter some things. As you're altering things, you will be more happy. And as you're happy, everybody around you will be happy. First rule of thumb, you make yourself happy to have a happy marriage. Number 2, you must be someone who prays. Oh, yes. You may be somebody here watching. You may be watching me right now, and you may not be a religious person. You may not be a Muslim. You may not be a Christian. You may even be an atheist. But everybody really does have like some high power, something that they look up to, someone that they glean their wisdom from, they glean their help from, they glean their support from. My support is God. My support is Jesus. Yours may be Muhammad. Yours may be Buddha. I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you that the sweetest recipe to a marriage is prayer. Because my brother, my sister, there are some things in your life that you're not going to be able to explain. There are some things that will happen in your marriage that you cannot explain. There are some things that will happen in your marriage that you find yourself talking to somebody who is supposed to be your friend, who is your husband, who is your wife. And as you're talking to them, you will feel like you're talking to a brick wall. What happens when you're talking to a brick wall? That's when you should thank your lucky stars and you thank God that you do have God, because you can talk to God. He's always there. You talk to God because the heart of man is in the hands of God. And when I say man, I don't mean male. The heart of a human being, the heart of an animal, the heart of everything actually is in the hand of God. If the heart of the ocean is in the hand of God, the ocean knows when to be calm. The ocean knows when to rage. The sun knows when to shine and the sun knows when to dim. The moon knows when to come out and the moon knows when to disappear. For the love of God. If God can control all of those things, oh, surely he can control your spouse. Surely he can fix it. Surely. I am a testifier of that. I am a woman who is, I'm always in the place of where I want to fix things. I'm a fixer. I've always been a fixer. I was raised as an only child. So right from when I was young, I was placed in a situation where I didn't have any brother. I didn't have any sister. So I had to learn how to fix very quickly. That's a very good trait. However, when you're married, you have to know when to simmer down. You have to see the sign that, okay, this one, I can't fix this one. Because God help you that you're married to someone who is very, very adamant. Someone who may be stubborn or someone who may be very type A. I'm a very, very type A personality. You really, really have to sell something to me for me to buy it. So if you're the kind of person that someone has to work hard to get into your heart, then you can only imagine how frustrating it is to your spouse, because now they're going to have to work hard to encourage you. They're going to have to work hard to please you. They're going to have to work hard to give you a suggestion that you will promise them that you're going to think about and you never think about. And even if you do, you don't do what they say or do what they suggest. If you have a spouse like that, you are going to have to pray. Yes, you have to pray. And I can assure you that that higher power will take care of it. Stop reporting your issues to people. Ha! Me? Hey, the whole world used to hear about my marital upheavals. Everybody has them. Everybody used to hear it, even the cats. I remember when we had a dog, I used to tell Champion all my problems. Yes, I used to be that person. Until I realized that everybody has their problem. And number two, not everybody is your friend. Not everybody wants your marriage to work now. Misery loves company. Why should you be having all the children when I don't have children? Why should your husband take you out on a date when my husband does not even come home? Why should your husband remember your anniversary when he did not remember my birthday? Sometimes misery, does love company. So why don't you just take all your problems to a God who created you? Definitely, he wants the best for you. That's number two. Number three, date nights. Date nights. I remember when we first got married, we decided that every Friday we were going to go to a movie. From that Friday, it now moved us to Sunday. And then we couldn't be so consistent with that, even though we tried. But I'm telling you, when we were consistent with that, there was so much bliss. Even when fights wanted to crop up, because we had that moment of intimacy for 2 or 3 hours in that day, our mind, body, and soul always reverted to those intimate moments. You understand? So it's important that both of you are talking together. Both of you go out. Both of you go out on Fridays. It's just an easier day to go out. Or on Sunday after church. You understand? But it's important that you do have a date night. You have a night where both of you look into each other's eyes. And that's not the night where you talk about your problems. Look at what you did yesterday. Or why did you speak to me like that? No. That's the night where you appreciate everything about this person. Remember now, you know how it used to be when you went out on a date. Even when the man's mouth was smelling, you didn't tell him that it was smelling now, because a date, it's not on a date night that you tell somebody that their mouth is smelling. Haba. It's not it's not on a date night that you say, I don't like the way that you talk. You need to treat me with respect. It's not on a date night that you do that. You understand? This is the night where you appreciate the fact that God gave you somebody. This is the night that you appreciate the slant in her eyes. This is the night that you appreciate his laughter, his white teeth. This is the night that you appreciate that he has been providing food day in, day out. He may not have been making to you all the time. He may not have been giving you everything that you need. But my sister, there is a roof over your head. You need to take that time to thank him. This is the time, sir, where you thank her for taking care of your children. This is the time where you thank her for taking you as her child. Pampering you and cooking for you and nurturing you. This is the time that you just appreciate her for being there. Now, secret, date night should be every night. You understand? Date night should be a lifestyle. Date night should be a lifestyle, an intentional lifestyle. Your spouse, you may not feel like your spouse deserves it. But let me tell you, when you don't appreciate your spouse, there's something that happens. I'm a nurse. I've seen patients when I run into the room and there's something called flatline. The patient flatlined. That's when their heart stopped beating. If you have a marriage that there's just one playing field, everybody is suppressing their emotions. Nobody is talking, because if I should talk to her now, she will start shouting. If I should talk to him, he will beat me. So everything is flatlined. Your children come home and it's like a militant just walked in. Flatlined. Nobody cries in your house, because if they cry, they will not get petted. So they don't cry. Nobody even asks for permission, because if they ask, it will be no. The answer is no. So they flatline. To flatline means to placate. And when you placate in a marriage, it will be flatlined. And wherever there is a flatline, there is death. So when you're looking at the monitor of a patient, you see the heart rate is going up, it's going down, it's going halfway. The rhythm. There is a rhythm to it. There is no rhythm in a flat line. You can only dance to a rhythm. You can only enjoy a rhythm. You can never enjoy a flat line, which means that there is a silver lining to whatever you're going through in your marriage. There is a rhythm. As long as there is a rhythm in your marriage, there is hope. As long as there is a rhythm in your marriage, you could dance. You may not like the flavor of music. You may not like the genre. So why don't you change the genre? But to keep going on with a flat line is death. So, spice up intimacy. Intimacy. I'll be right back. So I was talking about intimacy in marriage, right? Of course, we are talking about the steps to a happy marriage. Steps to a happy marriage, right? First of all, you have to be happy. Secondly, you take yourselves out on date night. But now I want to talk about intimacy. Intimacy is not just sex. Do you understand? Intimacy is not being in the bedroom. No. Intimacy is being able to empathize, see the core of the spouse that God has given you. You have to understand that this person that is in your life was God-given. This is somebody's child. So if you're somebody who doesn't believe in God, okay, a person gave you this person, gave you a heart that is beating, gave you a whole life to take care of. Don't you think that you should do your best to strive happiness and nurture of this thing? Because what was given to you was your spouse. Ladies and gentlemen, your spouse is a gift. It's a gift. Some of us deserve the gift and some of us really don't. but it's a gift. When you're giving gold, you polish it. When you're giving gold, you take care of it. When you're giving gold, you protect it. You don't just expose gold outside. Intimacy. Intimacy is knowing who your spouse is. It's just like that gold. Knowing the value of that gold. And you have to spend time with something to know its value. You also have to be interested in something to know its value. In my case, I had to really, really know what my husband's needs were. Let me talk about the physical needs. I had to know that he needs boxers. My husband is a very, very busy person. Very busy person. I don't think that he knows the way to the market. So my husband needs boxers. I don't come back home if I'm in the market. I come back home with boxers. I come back home with something that I know that he needs. My husband knows that I love, whenever I'm in Nigeria, all I eat is suya. He knows I love suya. So he buys me suya. Do you understand? We take care of the core needs. What we really, really need, the physical things, which may seem trivial. It's those trivial things, when they are neglected, it becomes a big problem. It becomes a very, very big problem. So he's buying me suya. I am buying him boxers. Do you understand? I tell him that I need to make my hair. It's not that I don't have money to make the hair. Haba. With all that I do. Of course, I have the money to do that. But you see, even if it's 1,000 naira that he gives me, for the fact that he gave me 1,000 naira, and my hair is 10,000 naira, but for the fact that he gave me that 1,000 naira, I would really appreciate him. But that he doesn't do anything at all. Okay, so he doesn't do anything at all, and then I come home with a new hairstyle and he doesn't even notice it. No. That will cause a problem. She may not say anything at that time. He may not say anything about you not appreciating the fact that he goes to work every day. Is he not supposed to go to work, my dear? There are men who sit down at home and don't do anything. No. And they are not paralyzed. They are not blind. They are not lame. They are not dumb. They are just lazy. They don't do anything. You have a husband who may not be buying you suya, but the guy is going out. Appreciate. My point is, appreciate your spouse. Talk about the good things that they are doing. Maybe one day a week, two of you can decide to talk about the things that they are not doing. But you cannot be talking about the things that they are not doing every day. No. It will weaken the bond. It will weaken the bond. I'm telling you. I'm speaking from a place of experience. You're always telling your husband, yes, you're telling him the truth, but you're telling him all the time, haba. Every time he's not providing, every time he's not giving. If you take time to actually see the things that he is doing, you will find out that the things that he's doing are actually heavier than the things that he's not doing. And you use that to compensate. Which brings me to my next point. My brother, my sister, husband and wife, you have to choose your battles. It's not everything, that you'll be fighting about in marriage. Whether he squeezed the toothpaste from the middle or he squeezed it from the bottom or he squeezed it at the top. If you come in and you see the toothpaste everywhere, take the thing, clean it up. It's not that you will pat him every day on his shoulder. That's how he was raised. And it is very, very hard to break habits that you imbibed since you were young. Those are fundamental. That is a fundamental age. It's a fundamental age. I'm not saying that he shouldn't learn it, but don't harp over it. If you can clean it, you clean it. Do you understand? It's not a matter of life and death. Now, if he's cheating on you or if he's beating you, then that's what you need to fix. That one, I can't tell you to choose your battles. However, even in that case, remember to take it to God. And then you go to a counselor. Always have a mentor in your marriage. Have a mentor in your marriage. And your mentors are not your in-laws. I hope you're not offended at that statement. Your mentors are not your in-laws. Can I say that again? Your mentors, your marital mentors are not your in-laws. Because they are part of your family and they are biased. They are. You will be very, very blessed to have a family member who is not so biased. You understand? And even if they are not biased, keep your politics of your marriage to yourselves and to a pastor or to a friend, somebody who is close, and let it be one person or two, so that the whole world just doesn't know your business. Because that was my issue. Everybody was my mentor. I took my issue to pastors, to priests, to doctors, to lawyers, to farmers. And as I told you, there was even a time in my life I was talking to my dog about the problems. Don't do that. Keep your politics to yourselves. Both of you are adults. If you now have a spouse who is strong-headed, then you take him to a mentor or take her to a mentor. And your mentor is not your in-laws. Because you see, when both of you have made up, when both of you have now kissed and you're rolling in the sheets, your in-laws still remember what you said. And it is very, very hard to erase that notion. Protect your family. Don't take your matters to your in-laws. Have a mentor. Be happy within your own self. Have date nights. Appreciate each other. And it's not every day that you'll be talking about the things that your spouse is not doing. Make sure that both of you are intimate. Say thank you. Say I love you. Another secret, do let the sun go down on your anger. I know the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your anger, which I strongly tell you to abide to. But sometimes in marriage, do let the sun go down on your anger. Because you cannot solve the problem overnight. There are some issues that will take years to solve. There are some issues that may never even be solved. There are some issues that will take 24 hours to solve. You have to be at work at 8 in the morning. At 2 a.m., two of you are still fighting over this one issue. No. Learn to let it rain. Sometimes just allow rain to fall. Because when the rain falls sometimes, it will be cool the next day. You can't solve everything in one day. You just can't. Do let the sun go down on your anger. And as you're letting the sun go down on your anger, please don't sleep on the couch. I was that kind of wife. I would sleep in the kitchen, I would sleep in the bathroom, I would sleep on the roof if I could. Don't do that. Still sleep on the bed. Because the situation that happened between you and your husband is a situation. The situation is not your husband. The situation is not your wife. The situation is a situation. The situation is an event. Your spouse is still the spouse that you met how many years ago? Your spouse is still the spouse that you fell in love with. Your spouse is still the spouse that you love. Your spouse is still the mother of your children. Your spouse is still the head of your home. Your spouse is still the love of your life. Your spouse is still the gift that God has given to you. It is important that you do not turn your spouse into the situation. Look at the situation for what it is. Look at the situation and see it as an event. Yes, in some of our marriages, the event could keep on occurring and occurring and occurring and occurring. No matter how much it is occurring, your spouse is not the situation. There is something bigger than that. Sometimes it's just an opposition. But the opposition is not your spouse. The opposition is not your husband. The opposition is not your wife. So don't turn your wife or turn your husband into a punching bag. No, you punch the situation. You punch the situation by prayer. You punch the situation by knowing when to speak and how to speak. You punch the situation by having wisdom. I used to speak out of turn. I used to speak out of line. Hey, if you hear my voice, hey, when I came out of the house, the neighbors would say, madam, is everything okay? They've been hearing my mouth since yesterday, since for 48 hours, just yelling at a man. How can you strike intimacy? The funny thing is that 99% of the things that I was telling him was true. But because of how I was saying it, it was never understood. You have to watch your words. You have to be intimate. You have to go to somebody who is higher than you, which is God. Keep your politics to yourself. Have date nights. If you want a happy marriage, you have to be happy yourself. You yourself have to be happy. You have to take away all the impediments in your personal life so that they do not encroach on somebody else's life, who in this case happens to be your spouse. And then you now expect your spouse to take it all. You expect your spouse to swallow all the nonsense because you've been able to swallow all of your nonsense. That's not fair. That's very selfish. You have to be intentional in marriage. How do you keep a happy home? How do you sustain a happy spouse? It's by being intentional. By not saying the things that you know will cause a battle. And even when you say them, you have to know how to say them. You have to know when to say them. You have to be intentional. You have to give gifts. You have to make love. You have to say thank you. You have to say I love you. You have to appreciate the things that they are doing right. and not always talk about the things that they are doing wrong. The things that they are doing wrong, you fix them with encouragement. You fix them with a pat on the shoulder. You fix them with a kiss on the forehead. You can never win a war with fire. You cannot use fire to quench fire. You cannot use a sword to cure a wound. So the secret to a happy marriage, to having a happy spouse, to having a happy husband, to having a happy wife, is to be happy yourself. But most of all, to be intentional. And of course, overall, be in control of your emotions. Because if you're not in control of your emotions will be in control of you. Until next time.
You will have to jump off a cliff just knowing that you will not crash. If you're not in control of your emotions will be in control of you.